Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the water cooler. My name is Ryan Saba. I am the most electrifying voice in sports information. And with me, as always,
What up? It's me. It's Lukey C, aka Quarantine King. What are we talking about today?
today we're talking about this is like Quarantine Chronicles update. We're going to talk about a few different things.
I like it.
We haven't really talked. First of all, I've only seen you 3 times this year.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen you since February. So,
Is that your birthday?
yeah, that's the last time I saw you. So,
Yeah, right.
In person, we obviously did the draft thing, which was awesome. I loved it. And then we did our draft recap. So that's the last episode we've had. So now it's really just a Quarantine Chronicle recap. Talk about what we've been doing, just some things that we miss and kind of what we're looking forward to. And we'll touch on some sports topics here at the end, some college football related stuff. And believe it or not, some baseball related stuff. Baseball we're sort of
One of our favorite topics on this show.
sort of Levitard-esque in that way, right? Like they never talk about baseball on the Levitard show. Like we never talk about baseball, but we're going to today. So, let's just get right into it. What have you been doing? What's up?
So, just recently, we got back into the office at work. So it's a little weird right now. It's just our 4 salespeople are back in there. But we're all kind of spaced out. We got a nice little bullpen there, and two of the 4 of us have our office. Each have an office. So I have my own office. So I'm pretty quarantined in there. We don't really interact that much. We talk, but most of the time I'm just in there on the phone, on the computer, just handling some business. Like there's no new business going on. Mostly just maintaining some customers.
Sure.
That's the work front for me right now. It's just kind of in there. We're still kind of lax. We're not going out to see customers or anything unless they request us to, and taking the proper precautions, wearing masks and stuff like that. And I'm actually surprised how many people don't wear masks when I go into other places, but that's not often that I go in. So how about you? How's work life for you?
Well, I mean, I've been at home for 9 weeks or maybe 10 weeks. I don't even know at this point. I never thought that I would like it. I thought I was going to hate it. I enjoy it. I think we're more productive, to be 100% honest with you. We're busier than ever, which is weird, but we're in the heavy duty trucking industry. I deal with on the parts side, the service side of servicing the vehicles for the Mack and the Volvo trucks. So, Target and Costco and Sam's Club and Harris Teeter and Giant Eagles and all that stuff in Ohio, right? All those places need trucks to move products from the manufacturers and the distribution warehouses to their, places of business. So, business has been okay. The challenge for us is they cut us down to 4 days a week. So now we're doing, 5 days a week in 4 days, which is tough. There's also I'm on calls 4 or 5 hours a day.
Wow.
Right. So on a busy day, there was a day last week or maybe 2 weeks ago where I was on calls from 7:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the afternoon. I had a 30-minute break from 12 to 12:30. Like I was literally on calls all day long. So there's challenges there, but we're busy. We're not going back into the office yet. They started the transition at Volvo back into the office this week for 25%. I get the feeling that we're not going back for a while. There's no rush from our group, and frankly, I don't necessarily think we need to go back. Volvo has a very they're progressive, right, in terms of the layout of our workspaces. So it's all cubicle farms. So, there's some challenges. There's a lot of people that I know that I talk to that I don't think necessarily are really pumped to go back. So it'll be interesting. They're going to have us, they do temperature checks when we walk into the building and that kind of stuff. So, and they have sort of a PPE kit. This is all in the emails that they're giving us, but there's a PPE kit that they're going to give us when we go back in that has, I forget everything that's in it. There's like a little stylus for you to push buttons, like the elevator buttons and all that. There's masks and there's some other things. So, work is good, but I'm not super pumped to go back. So,
yeah,
what else?
I wasn't either. And I mean, it's just so weird. It's uncomfortable. It's like you don't really feel, but like once I sat down at my desk and just got into like working, I felt a little bit better about it. And in a couple weeks, we'll start to see a little bit more and more of that. Like you said, the transition back, and I think more and more customers will be in. So we'll see.
I think it's crazy, right? Because your work is a little more local.
Yeah.
Right. You obviously have your territory in Greensboro, and you guys do very, very well at Toshiba in your territory. But for us, our business is in North America. So we're in the US and Canada. So we're going to see certain states and regions, pick up and do a lot better than others.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be some regional challenges for us, but it's nothing that we're not afraid of. We're a world-class sales organization, so I'm not concerned about it. But enough of work, because this is fun, right? What are you watching? Like, what are you and Bridget and little Rory, like, what have you guys been doing?
So, like I said, I'm back in the office now, so I'm not home with them all day like I was, pretty much in the office for half a day at this point. But we're watching. He's watching a lot of Disney Plus. He's streaming a lot of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, some YouTube videos. But more importantly, once I get him down and go to bed, we're watching Ray Donovan for the past few weeks. Man, we're just like we're gung ho into that. We're just started season 7, so it's the last available season. Show's incredible. I love it. And Billions is back out now, so I think we talked about this last time. Billions, there's 3 episodes in. I haven't seen the most recent one because there was a little live sporting event on Sunday for the first one back that I really been interested in.
Golf?
Yeah, so I had a little too much fun watching that, getting a little too into it. Got a little gambling going on it, so it was fun to get the juices back flowing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the things that I found during this whole thing is I've had so much fun, like actually watching old events. At any point, like during the day, at night, you can check any of those channels, like Fox, NBC Sports,
all of them.
Always just running old stuff, and just a few that I took a note of that I watched that I just really enjoyed. One Saturday night, I just sat out on the patio in the back, and it was Reggie Bush in 05 versus Notre Dame. So
with the liner pushed him in at the end.
Bush, yeah. Man, that game was incredible, and it just was so much fun just to watch Reggie touch the ball. Like, obviously, it's not the same as like live events, but just seeing him do it again, it's like, holy shit, he was fucking good.
Yeah.
I have watched Cavs Warriors Game 7 a few times.
Been on
quite a few times. Game 5 as well. And then 1 versus 2, Texas versus Duke in 2006. JJ Redick scored 41 points, and Duke just pasted them. Duke pasted number 2 Texas. That was LaMarcus Aldridge. I think they played in the Meadowlands.
Was that the point guard TJ Ford? Was TJ Ford on that team?
Yeah, and Ford and Aldridge.
Okay.
And then I watched. Like one night I just happened to be up, and I was up late smoking a cigar, and I happened to see that Duke was playing Wake on the ACC network from 05. Redick had 33. Chris Paul was in that game. Duke was I think ranked 6th at the time, and Wake was ranked 7th. Like I said, Redick scored 33. They were down like 12 pretty much the whole second half, and they got close, but not close enough. And Wake pulled off the upset. But just some old sporting events that it was just fun to watch, get back into, just kind of reminisce about where I was at the time and just think about those things. What about you though?
One that I know that's on right now, but I'm not watching it, is so 2 years ago, the Indians went on their 22 game winning streak. So they're replaying every game every night on STO. So from the night it started, I don't know, I think it started, what's the date today? The 19th. I think it started on like the 15th of May.
Mhm.
So now they're playing each game every night. So,
I've
you know,
seen the updates on their
yeah,
Instagram and shit.
so for our fans in Ohio, there you can watch that. What am I watching? You know, TV.
Oh shit! I did watch the World Series 2016. I did watch Game 7,
Yeah,
and turned it off at the appropriate time when it ended after Rajai Davis's home run.
100 years of tears, man. That wasn't a rain delay. That was 100 years of tears. I'm doing a lot of rewatching. I talked about this. You know, we did 100th episode for Zero Dark Nerdy on Sunday, and we kind of talked about this a little bit. So for anybody who watched that, I don't want to, you know, duplicate content too much, but I watched Altered Carbon on Netflix, which is really, really good. There's 2 seasons of that. I would encourage anybody who's into sort of sci-fi and those types of things. That was a really, really good show. I just rewatched in 3 weeks the entire Friday Night Lights series. Clear Eyes, Full Hearts, baby. Have you
Blues.
watched that show?
Yeah, of course I did. I love that show.
Fucking that show it's outstanding right now, and it's crazy because they talked about it on that 100th episode that I was just mentioning, The Outer Banks on Netflix.
Okay, so I heard about this. I have it queued up. I haven't watched it yet.
We started it. What's today? Is today Tuesday? We started it Sunday night. We watched 4 episodes Sunday night. We watched 4 episodes last night, and there's 2 episodes left, and we're going to finish it. So we're going to finish the whole season in basically 2 days. It's really good.
I've heard so many different things. I've heard like it's a cross between like The OC and like Pretty Little Liars. I've heard
it's the Goonies. No, that's what it is.
Dude, I've heard like 4 different things now about it.
Goonies.
Like
It's like Goonies meets. Behren said West Side Story, and I don't necessarily. I guess I haven't seen West Side Story, so I don't know. But it's like class struggle. So it's almost like you know, you have like the rich people in the outer, but it's you know, it's very Southern. Just sort of like these rich Southerners wearing their fucking vineyard vines and their, you know, all that bullshit. And then, you know, you have like the working class folks, but they're on a treasure hunt, and it's fun. It's fun. You know, there's some like, it's like some little suspenseful moments and things like that, but it's fun.
I know
Video games. Go ahead.
I was telling you earlier, my parents are in town. I don't know if I said this on the show yet. My parents are in town helping with the little guy while I'm back at school or back at the office. And so I was told over the weekend about this Outer Banks show. Just some friends were talking about it, and then they told me about it. So I'm like, oh yeah, we'll queue it up. We're sitting there watching something yesterday, I think, last night. My dad's like, oh, he's in that Outer Banks show. What? You watched that? He's like, oh yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Your dad's got great hair, so it doesn't surprise me that he's hip like that. What's another one on Hulu? We watched this old show from like, I don't know, it's probably like 10 years old. It's called Baby Daddy. It was on it was on the Freeform network,
yeah, I'd heard of that.
Which is the old ABC Family network. It's basically like 3 men and a baby, like in a TV show. So if anybody's in for sort of 30-minute sitcom, that's fun too. I've been big into video games, man. I talked about it on our last Quarantine Chronicle. Jackson Miles, my guy, my player in NBA 2K. What I'm going to say is this. So I got about 50 games into my season. Everybody's like, you played 50 games. You don't play 50 games. You only play while your player is playing. And very early on, and even when they first start, like you're only playing like 10 or 11 minutes a game because they're 5-minute quarters. So I got about 40 or 45 games in, and I wasn't really happy with the build of my character because he was like 6'3", 185, and he was more of a slasher.
Uh-huh.
So what I did is I went back and I rebuilt him. So he's built like Steph now. He's sick. I'm serious. He's 6'5", 180. He's long and lanky. And, he's still sort of a slasher, but he's a better shooter and things like that. I got him off the Cavs because I just wasn't happy with the Cavs. So I actually got drafted by Dallas. So right now we're running a squad where it's me at the point, Luka at the 2, Porzingis, and this team, like, we are a serious contender. Jackson Miles is a just for anybody who's out there right now. We're 37 games into this season with Dallas, 16 points a game, four and a half assists. He's in the thick of the Rookie of the Year voting.
So how does it work? Do you have to request a trade when you do that?
I just started over.
Oh, okay.
And like,
Can you choose who drafts him?
Huh?
Can you choose who drafts him?
So the second time around, you can. You don't have to play through the initial story mode that takes like 3 or 4 days. So basically, you can just skip it and you can pick the team that you want to be on. Now, the game I just played, so I usually, when I'm done with work for the day, I'll play a game or two. So we just played the Lakers, and fucking LeBron, man. Like, so in this game, the Lakers, they play him at point, so I had to guard him. And it's a 180-pound rookie who's 6'5". Dude, game winner. Like, he hit a dagger to end a 2-pointer right above the free throw line to take it into overtime, and then hit a dagger 3 in overtime to win it. Like, I couldn't stop him. He had like 40 points. Like, it was ridiculous. But that's an update
really
for everybody curious about Jackson Miles. The house. We've been working on the house a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you said you didn't think you'd like it, it's got to be way better working at a new house. That's got to be fun.
It is, so I got an office, but we're using it for overflow. We're finally cleaning it out. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this wall in front of me. We've ordered some artwork. There's the wall in the back there that you can see. Yeah. We ordered a piece of art that's 8 feet wide.
Damn.
That's going to go. It's coming from the UK. There's a piece of art that we ordered that's going to go right here. So there's just a lot of like finishing touches that need to happen. We just got some more furniture that's going in here. So still the process is happening, but I love it. You haven't even been here yet. So I gotta have you and Bridget over here. I mean, we sort of, not every weekend, but, a couple times a month we'll have, 2 or 3 people over, the Corona friends or whatever, the quarantine friends.
Quarantine crew.
Yeah, we keep it to the same people pretty much, but it's that's it. I mean, I think you got anything else?
No, not off the top of my head. Not that I can think of.
So, what do you miss the most?
Man, I think it's just like, we were living in a time before all this when you could just turn on the TV and catch something live. It didn't matter what it was, with the way TV and streaming and everything works. You can get games from other countries. You can find cricket. You could find just stuff all over it, no matter what. Just at any time, at any point in the day, you can find live games. Now, like I said, we've just been rewatching a whole lot of old sports. So I think I just miss just sports in general. The Cavs, we know we're not great, but either today or yesterday was scheduled to be the lottery. That's prime time for the Cavs right there. We were right there in the thick of it. The Indians, I think they were picked to finish second in the division, so they would have had a good year. I mean, who knows with that? So they've been following closely along with that and just been buried into it. And football is just nonstop, so we still kind of have that, but I think just being able to just watch something live has been the toughest part for me.
Yeah, I'm sort of built for this quarantine stuff, this shelter in place, because I'm not a huge, I like to go out to bars and things like that, but I'm the kind of person, and this, where when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. And it's usually after about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So, um, it's just, I don't like being around, especially when places start getting busy and stuff like that. I completely don't, because people just aggravate me. You know that. I have such, no, like, minimal patience for just loudness and like people being rude and just all that shit that goes on at bars. So, but I do miss it. I miss being able to go to Suds or Stumbles or Corner Bar. All my favorite Speakeasy. All my favorite Gray's Tavern. I go down to Gray's. Before this thing happened, we were doing day drinking. We were doing a lot of I would go out Saturday morning. I would, bounce around downtown. So I kind of miss that. I'm not super excited for that stuff to open back up because of some of the stuff I saw in Ohio this weekend.
Yeah.
People are pretty careless. I also, saw that, like, I saw something, I don't know if it was on Twitter or if I actually read an article. I consume so much content online now, it's hard for me to remember. But there are, like, bars in downtown, like Barley and Town Hall and all that, were getting cited multiple times. And, like, cops were writing bar owners tickets for too many people on the sidewalk in front of their bar. They don't even own their sidewalk. That kind of stuff, for like downtown Cleveland, where it's a city, and they're always kind of gonna have traffic. It's not that big of a deal, but for a town like Greensboro, that could be a major deterrent for people opening back up. And we rely on our small businesses and things like that. So, not to get too far off, I miss being able to go out. I miss seeing a lot of people. I miss seeing my friends. I miss seeing you guys.
Yeah.
I miss seeing the people I care about. I don't get to see my mom and dad that often. When things like that. So, I'm excited about, maybe not right away, but I'm excited about things opening back up so we can see. So, I think that's a good transition. What are you looking forward to? Like, one or two things. What are you looking forward to doing, or what's something that you're looking forward to when things return to normal?
Well, ever since we had the little guy, I always say I like to pull a dad move on, like, weekend, on like a Friday night, where I go to the bar, I order a pizza or whatever, and I sit there and I have a couple beers while the pizza's getting ready, and I come home with the pizza for family night, for us to have some dinner.
Yeah.
So I always call that a dad move. So I'm excited to do that again. Just kind of get back out there. But like you said, that stuff in Ohio, man, it was a little, little off-putting to see all those people, and
Yeah.
DeWine saying they could lose their liquor licenses if stuff. So they're not more careful. But that's for one. And just, I know golf courses are open now, but, like, I'm looking forward to going out again when it's like, and it might not be this golf season, might have to wait till next year, but
Yeah.
you could ride a guy in the cart with whoever you're playing with, and you don't have to just doing really anything, going to the grocery store, and so you don't have to do online all the time, and going to Costco and not having to see, like, it's just, it was alarming at first when you see all these people with the masks on and the partitions, and they're constantly spraying down, and that stuff's obviously good, and I feel like it's in place for a good reason, but so used to it now, and I don't think masks are going to go away for a while, but just looking forward to regular stuff without having to feel like you're giving it a ton of thought every single time that you go out.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head for me. Like, I think there's a couple things that I'm really looking forward to. You talked about golf. I'm definitely looking forward to golf. I haven't been out. I was only out a couple times last year. I obviously haven't been out this year, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think big picture wise, just being one of the things that's really weird is, like, when you need something and it's not like a common item, you have to, like, think and Google to see if that place is even going to be open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is this place even open? And just like you said, going to Costco or those types of places at Target, it becomes a challenge. Not having to wait in line. But for me, like the one thing that I like, movies. Like, I love going to the movies. We go to the movies a lot. Obviously, for Zero Dark Nerdy, I talk about movies and stuff all the time. So, but in general, I miss movies and I'm excited about it going back. But there's been a lot of stuff that has been delayed and pushed back.
Yeah.
So like there's 2 times a year, like the summertime and Christmas time, like around the holidays, where those are like prime movie seasons. It's going to be prime movie season basically from, August 1st all the way to the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to, to that. And I think very similarly, and this is a good transition into our next topic, because so much sports has been delayed and pushed back and it hasn't necessarily been canceled. I think we're going to see, crazy sports on at the same time that you don't normally see and things like that. There could be in the fall, you could have a weekend where there's NBA playoffs, baseball,
The Browns play the Houston Texans on Masters Sunday.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But there could be like, who knows how that's going to play out. Baseball's probably going to be on. That's in November. Baseball's not on in November. So it's just going to be weird to see that kind of stuff. But, how do you expect, and it's time we're finally going to start talking about sports on our sports podcast. How do you expect sports to change in the short term?
Well, I mean, I think we got a little glimpse of it recently. The South Korean Baseball League came back, their professional league, and we saw a little bit with no fans in the stands there. They tested all their players and everything, and honestly, that's the kind of stuff that you're not going to see, obviously. But just seeing that, and then I was like, I've never seen a Korean Baseball League, so I don't know how different this feels. But over the weekend,
you're waking up at 5:30.
The German Bundesliga started. And, I don't watch a ton of the German league, but I do watch a lot of the European Premier League over there. But it was weird to see them. Like, they were out there and it sounded like they were just like in an empty indoor, like a college, like it felt like a college intramural game. You could hear everything. It was very echoey. Just it's an outdoor arena, but the sounds are just bouncing off these empty chairs. And I did see, I think it was a Korean soccer league put like sex dolls in the seats, which I thought was funny, and I think they should. I'm pissed that they apologized. I wish they would keep them in there. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, it's just real weird. And then even in the golf match on Sunday when it was Ricky and Matt Wolff versus DJ and Rory, they had no caddies. They did not touch the flag stick. They had a guy that walked with their group that individually walked to and pulled the flag when they needed to have the flag pulled out. They were 6 feet apart, no high fives, no anything. Obviously no spectators, but Ricky did make a big putt and acknowledge the crowd, which was funny. But I think you're going to see some stuff like that. I heard Rory on a podcast before it say, do you think that that's something that they could carry forward? He's like, yeah. He's like, I think that, we need to have our caddies, especially for tournament play, but, to take these precautions the way that we're doing it, he's like, I think that's a perfect way to do it. So I think you'll start to see some of those changes. I don't know if the NFL is going to play with fans. We've heard about, the NBA when they, I say when, I should say when they come back, whether they're going to do it in, the Vegas League, the Vegas Summer League or the Orlando Summer League, or wherever they decide to do it. I know, I think it was University of Florida offered their campus for it.
They're talking about doing it at Disney World.
Yeah, because they have several different courts that they can do it at. But it's gonna be weird for a while when it does come back. You're just gonna see all those kind of expectations, no fans and those kind of things.
So, maybe I think you did a really good job of touching on the short term. I think I'm going to talk about the long term a little bit, maybe some things that you potentially could see. I think first and foremost, you're going to see, as with everything that becomes a hazard with coronavirus, you're going to see costs go down. So I think this is a step towards professional sports becoming economical again for families of four. I think there's a potential where you could see costs go down significantly in the short term. I also think that, if I have a family, I don't want to take them to a venue. So even more so than what we've seen over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of, American sports leagues and maybe international sports leagues. I don't really know, but you've seen baseball, basketball, and football really try to create more of a fan experience at their arenas and ballparks and stadiums. I think you're going to continue to see more of that, those types of things. I think I also think that this is sort of the beginning of the end of I already believe that there's only one sport that's really worth seeing in person anymore, and that's baseball. I think the experience of a baseball game is unlike any other. Hot dogs and peanuts and kind of standing out in the home run deck, the Budweiser deck at Progressive Field, Jacobs Field. I think the last 15, 20 years, anytime I've gone to a baseball game, I buy standing room only, and I walk in there and we stand out there in the deck. We don't even go to our seats. The experience is so great on TV. And, I understand that these owners make a lot of money based on, what did I see?
NBA said it was 40% was from gate and like in arena stuff.
I'm trying to think. NFL maybe said that every home game that they don't have cost them like $650,000 in revenue from ticket sales, concessions, those types of things. So I think you're going to see some short-term changes, obviously, with no fans in the stands and just a completely different dynamic.
Just to touch on, I just had a question. Like, so you see the cost coming down because do you think they're going to have a hard time getting people there?
Yeah, I don't think it's like we were supposed to go on a cruise on Friday. And obviously we're not going on a cruise on Friday, but we had a decision to make with Royal Caribbean. They reached out to us and they said, you can have a refund, or you can have 125% credit that you have 2.5 years to reschedule. I took the 125% credit, right? Because my thought process is, we were going on I don't know, it's like a 6-day cruise or whatever, but nobody's going to want to go get on a cruise anytime soon. So if we schedule something a year out, maybe it's a 10-day cruise now, right? At 125%, and we're not in the, we have a better stateroom. Like maybe we have instead of the balcony, we get whatever the next step up is. I don't know. But,
yeah,
that's my thought process. I think you're going to see very similar things happen with sports, because I just don't see people clamoring to get back when the television experience is so good.
I don't necessarily disagree with you for all of the sports except for football. Can you imagine? Or I'll put it this way: like on opening Sunday and the Brown and the NFL, if they have the season starts on time, all that, they just like they had planned with the schedule release and everything, and everything's planned and going, and there's no fans. Like and I know like the Muni lot and all those stuff will be closed, but the streets are just going to be flooded. I mean, there's just going to be people. So I just can't imagine football being one. It's just
there's only 30 cities that have NFL teams. I mean, the majority of those fans that are sitting in the stands every week are commuting from somewhere else. Or not, maybe majority is the wrong word, but a very, very large segment of the fans that are in the stands every week are commuting from somewhere else. So
that's true.
I don't know, man. I just, especially, if the team's not good,
Yeah.
let's say that, let's play it out this way, right? Maybe the first few weeks they don't have fans. NFL starts on time. First few weeks they don't have fans, but they plan on fans coming in week 5, week 6, or whatever. What if your team's 1-4? Most cities, unlike the city that where we're from, where we have the most loyal fan base in the motherfucking world, right? That just love losing. But most cities that the Panthers, let the Carolina Panthers, which they are going to be there, right? Let the Carolina Panthers go 1-5 and see how many people are at Bank of America Stadium out there tailgating or whatever. I think there are cities where where the tailgate experience is big, but I could see, and this happens now, right? People go down to the Muni lot or go down to the flats lot there and they tailgate, then they go to a bar and they go home and watch the game. I could see very similar things happening. So yeah, I think we could talk about this forever, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. All right, so let's talk about some specific sports items. Jim Harbaugh, your favorite college football coach, wrote an open letter to the college football community. And it had to do with college football players being able to enter the draft at any point in their college football career. One of the things that he talked about was that the rules were adopted in 1990 and they were outdated, which they are. I mean, I think, and for the folks that don't know that, there's a 3-year restriction currently. So basically, a player in college football is not eligible to enter the NFL draft until they are 3 years removed from their high school graduation date. And there's been players that have challenged it. Maurice Clarett is probably the most famous one. I think Mike Williams, the wide receiver from USC, I think was going to attempt to challenge it as well. But I think one of the really interesting things, and you and I are both serious proponents of player empowerment for college student athletes or athlete students, we should call them. I think empowering them and putting the power in their hands is very, very important. It's very important to me. I know it is to you. I think one of the things that's really critical or key about this letter that Jim Harbaugh wrote to the college football community is, that the players that aren't selected are allowed to return to college. They can speak to an agent. They can't sign with the agent, and as long as it's found that they don't get any kind of financial support or whatever, they're still eligible to return. I think I think this is important. I think it's a really great idea. I think the transition of these young men from their amateur career to their pro career, the discretion of that transition is then put in the hands of themselves and their families and what makes the most sense for them. Some of these kids, when they're 18 or 19 years old, they aren't ready to go to the NFL. It's a grown man's game, but some of them are. So, just talk to me a little bit about, your thoughts. I have a few points that I want to touch on, and maybe you'll hit on some of them. But just tell me what you think about Coach Harbaugh, Captain Comeback, what he, what he's trying to accomplish, how you feel about it. Do you support it? And do you think it's something that the NCAA should seriously consider?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, we're both proponents of this, and we talked about the NCAA in our. I think we were probably the most harsh on them in our NCAA basketball preview with the Wiseman garbage.
Yeah.
And at the time I think that was right around the time with Chase Young and everything too. So,
yeah.
Just all that stuff. It's just greedy. You heard about the numbers. They lost, all that money when they had to cancel NCAA March Madness. And I know there's expenses that go into it, but it's like, where is all that money going? Like, it's just going to them. Like, I don't understand why in sports there's these arbitrary cutoffs. Like you said, it is a grown man's game, and not every phenom that's 18 and 19 is ready to come out. Shit, someone when they're 21, 22 aren't ready to come out, even the really, really good ones. So, but I do think that that's a decision that the kids should make. We've seen recently, kids, from Ohio State, I can't remember his name, Jalen Marshall, who was drafted by the Jets. Actually, no, he was signed as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
He was eligible to come out, but he wasn't ready. Had he stayed another year, he'd have had a great year at Ohio State and probably would have been drafted after that. But he needed to go and make he needed to make the money for his family, and they decided that was the best time. There's no reason why he shouldn't be allowed to make that decision at, 19 as opposed to like 21. It's not always going to be right, but these people have to make their own decisions. There's no reason to put an arbitrary cutoff on it. You have some kinks to work out with. Okay, so you're going to let them go into the draft, but they're not allowed to sign with an agent. There's all kind of problems there. Just
Sure.
strictly from, typically when a player signs with an agent after college, after their college football season is over, the agent will float them money to some training, get them a place to live and all that stuff. And it's just, you really can't do that without that kind of money. And I mean, I know these guys are getting, payments from boosters and stuff, but as soon as they decide that they're going to try and test out the draft waters, those shores dry up, So it's going to be, they should be able to get a stipend or whatever it is. I get to figure it out. But the overall 5 years eligibility, I think, is a great thing. I think being entitled to go back and finish your degree if your NFL career doesn't work out, those are all great. And I don't see any reason why anyone would be opposed to this without some real actual solid guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think my first takeaway from this is it's not surprising that Jim Harbaugh is the guy to bring this to the table. I mean, he's a leader of men. He's an educator. He runs the cleanest program in America.
Maybe that's why they're not any good.
That's right. That is why. Right? That is why. I think it's really funny that you're laughing about that, but yes, that is why.
Hey, I don't care, man. Just win. I just want wins.
Yeah, I hear you. I think, you talk about the kinks. You're right. I mean, I think one of the things that's really important here, you talked about the money to train and things like that. I mean, these players have to prepare for the NFL Combine and those types of things. So there's going to have to be something set up where these guys don't go down to Florida or whatever and train. They actually have to train at the university, or the teams will have to have sort of a staff or members of their staff that are dedicated helping the players prepare for the draft. I think one thing that's really important here that's potential byproduct, and I'm going to give my girl, Laura Rutledge, love her so much, but I'm going to give her some props on this. And she talked about it. I watched when this letter came out. I watched Get Up, and they talked about it. And one of the things, she's on the ESPN, college football show. She's very dialed into that.
On game day quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So what she talked about, is there's a limited number of scholarships that these teams have. So it becomes an issue for the team. It becomes an issue for the player, right? I think there's some challenges associated with the timeline of the draft and when the commitment days are. And, if I'm a team and this is a fringe, these are fringe guys. Lots of times they're potentially going to be fringe guys who you're not sure if they're coming back or not. And you got a blue chip guy that's going to come in, there's going to be some musical chairs, if you will, where there's not going to be enough chairs for everybody. So I think one of the potential really interesting and, quite frankly, sexy byproducts of this is
transfers.
The impact that this potentially could have on the transfer portal, right? It can almost create a level of free agency in college football. I think there needs to be some requirements, right? So if I'm a kid who's a third-string quarterback at Alabama and I know I'm never going to play, I can't just say, oh, I'm going to the draft knowing I'm not going to get drafted, right? And then, go transfer. I mean, I think there needs to be some restrictions there. But I think there's an interesting byproduct with the transfer portal. The other thing I want to say, is, and this just is disgusting. This disgusts me. Bobby Carpenter, right? The Ohio State perspective. And Bobby Carpenter's not the only guy I heard say this from Ohio State. They're like, oh, of course he wants players to be able to leave because he doesn't want Ohio State to beat him every year. Like the most fucking stupid take I ever heard in my life about a guy who's actually trying to change the, basically indentured servitude or, slavery. We'll call it slavery, modern day slavery of college football and college athletics. But these buck nuts come out there and saying stuff like that. And like the people from Alabama were thinking the same thing. So I just want to say one thing that, to all the Ohio State fans out there, to all the Alabama fans, to all the Clemson fans, all the fans out there that think that, that understand that this potentially hurts your ability to be able to extend your dynasties over a long period of time, that this isn't about, Coach Harbaugh isn't trying to empower these athlete students to make decisions for their career because he wants to weaken your programs. He actually wants to help young men become professionals and earn money at the things that they're good at. So I don't know if you want to comment on that. I'm sure you don't, but
I'll say I got two comments for it.
Yeah.
The first one is I didn't even realize I haven't paid attention to Bobby Carpenter since he left Ohio State. I didn't even know he was still like. Does he have a Twitter account or something? Like
he's on Get Up. No, he's on ESPN.
Could have fooled me.
He's on NFL Live a lot. He's actually not too bad. He's got an ESPN radio show somewhere too. He's actually not too bad.
Well, that's a horrible take.
It was terrible. Yeah.
And also, I'll just say that ain't gonna weaken our program. We can recruit them all. Yeah,
well, I think one of the Bosa brothers actually had. I think Nick actually had a similar take on Twitter. So the guy who actually quit on the program.
We've seen his Twitter takes too. We know that.
Yeah, the guy who quit on the program, he's now being, he's
what
being.
About your guy Jabril quit on your program?
Who?
Jabril, your guy.
I don't know who that is. Sounds like somebody that plays for the Giants. Lastly, the last topic we'll talk about is baseball. Baseball, right? We never talk about baseball. But this week, was it this week or was it it was the end of last week. Basically, the baseball owners had a proposal for an 82-game season. They want to salvage as much as they can, of the season, and they proposed a 50-50 revenue split with the baseball players or with the players. So in essence, what that would come down to is the players would have to take a 50% pay cut. And Blake Snell, who was a pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays, basically came out very adamantly, that he wasn't going to play if he didn't get his full paycheck. He was risking his life. The takes were pretty poor. It was certainly in poor taste. And then he also got backed up by a couple players. Bryce Harper was one who was a notable guy who supported him. I saw an article where Clayton Kershaw kind of took the high road on it. He wasn't necessarily.
Nolan Arenado said something along this. He just kind of backed it up. He just
Nolan Arenado backed up Blake Snell.
Yeah, he wasn't as abrasive. He's look, the way it's not the way to go about it, but I really don't blame him. Like, do you think if anyone ever told one of those owners, like, hey, we're going to try and do this, but you have to take a 50-50 split, like those owners in business, they just wouldn't do it. Like, that's not, they didn't get there because they took deals like that. So I don't really blame them. Like, the players kind of have the leverage here. Now, Blake Snell specifically, I guess there's evidence of him saying that, a few weeks ago, this is no worse than the flu. So maybe he read up on it and then changed his mind a little bit. But to say say that and then a few weeks later, take this route, I don't blame them for wanting to get their money, at all. So I get that. but just don't go that way about it, I guess. But also Jeff Passan on Russillo's show said that 90% of the players were thinking the exact same thing. It's just Snell was the one who said it. So I'm just never going to blame players in situations like this, especially when the owners had already agreed to something different beforehand and then kind of reneged on it and then offered this 50-50 split.
This is the one time where you will ever hear me go against the player empowerment. I think it's a pretty poor take when there's 33 million Americans on unemployment who don't have jobs. Most major corporations have in some way, shape, or form furloughed or done some sort of labor reduction with the corresponding pay reduction. So I think that take is very tone deaf to what's actually happening in this country. There's a lot of people right now that would give anything to get 50% of their pay, right? To go back to their job and get 50% of their pay. I think it's one thing to think it, right? And say, oh man, you know what? 90% of my teammates, they don't want a pay cut, right? Nobody wants a pay cut. But I think the reality is the people in the stands, the people that watch you, the people that support the organization, that get that watch TV, that come to the games, that get those that make those large salaries possible. These are working class people that are going through a very similar situation, and they damn sure aren't making $7 million this year, right? Because that's what his pay was going to be. So I think normally I would support it, but what I will say is, the NBA, they're cutting players' salaries. LeBron's taking a pay cut. They did 30 million last week, and I think when it's all said and done, I think they said something. It's going to be something like $1.4 billion in player salaries from the NBA are going to be withheld potentially. That's a large number, but I'm almost positive that's what they said. Every sport is doing it. Every profession, every job, every industry is doing it. So I think for a guy like Blake Snell, who's not even a household name, frankly, I mean, I know he won a Cy Young, but he's not a household name. For him to be the face of this player movement, I think is, there's a reason why Clayton Kershaw and Nolan Arenado and, Mike Trout, didn't come out and say this, because I think they understand that it's not going to be a popular opinion, and it's really disrespectful to, the working class people in this country who are fighting this thing every day. And to say that you are risking your life by going out and playing on the pitcher's mound, by the way, in a non-contact sport with no fans in the stadium, like, you may be the safest person in Tampa, okay, when you're standing on that pitcher's mound. So I think that it's just it's just greed. It's just him being a greedy guy. He's in the second year of a $50 million contract, and I think that he's just completely out of touch. And it's pretty disgusting. It's not quite as bad as Bobby Carpenter's take, but it's right there. So,
like I said, I don't. I mean, I'm just always going to side with those guys. It's their decision. I mean, I understand. If he doesn't want to come out and take a 50% pay cut when they come back, then he can
don't play.
And he doesn't have to make anything. So
take 100% pay cut.
We'll see what happens when it lines up. But it's just, I just kind of side with them, and I don't even disagree.
That's stupid.
No, I don't disagree with any of your takes. I mean, I think that you were pretty spot on. There are serious concerns, like Larry Nance has Crohn's disease, and he says, like he's already at risk for this. So I understand there's some place, like, obviously with all this stuff with Snell, it doesn't sound like he's really that concerned with that stuff. But I personally have a pregnant wife. Like, I don't want to be out in society you know, and be exposed to that, and then bring that home to, I have a small son and my wife is pregnant. Like I said, I don't want this anywhere near them. So like there are legitimate concerns. But I
I'm
just,
not saying there's not legitimate concerns. I just don't think Blake Snell has those concerns. And
we
for
agree.
a guy to say, I was supposed to make $14 million, you only want to pay me $7 million, so I would rather make no $1 million, is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
We agree. We agree on that.
It's and I don't even want to get into this, but I don't know how. I know you don't follow Barstool, but there is some crazy shit going on right now with Barstool Sports and these two gals that have a podcast called Call Her Daddy. That is the content that I fucking live for. Before we got on here, Dave Portnoy just did an emergency press conference. So anybody who is in the mood for people making horrible career and business decisions, just Google Call Her Daddy, read the New York Times article, listen to Dave Portnoy talk about it. He went on their podcast to give an update when they haven't made a podcast in weeks because they're fighting for their IP or whatever. He went on the podcast and recorded a 30-minute episode just to talk shit about them and made it the #1 podcast in America. The most fucking crazy power move I've ever heard. So anybody who's in the mood for just horrible career and business decisions, just Google Call Her Daddy and a guy named the HBO Soup Man. Just look into it. It's outstanding. You got anything else?
Oh, that's it. Go Bucks.
Go Browns. Listen, one last thing. At WC Sports Pod, follow us. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at WC Sports Pod. Like us, follow us, subscribe to YouTube. Also, be sure to
we're going to be on SoundCloud and YouTube.
Yeah, SoundCloud. It's on the Zero Dark Nerdy page. www.popculturepodcast.com. There's some information there.
We'll tweet the link.
Like and follow Zero Dark Nerdy as well. It's a pop culture podcast that I contribute to pretty regularly. Luke's been on it. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got for today. Everybody stay safe. When they open you back up, whether you're in North Carolina, you're in Ohio, or any other state that you're watching this, just be nice to people. Don't be an asshole. Be safe. Wear masks for other people, not for you. Protect other people, not yourself. And make sure that you tip the living shit out of your bartenders when you go back, and you take care of those people in the service industry, because unlike Blake Snell, your bartender is risking their life. So make sure that you take care of them. You're not a dick. All right? Go Browns.
Amen.